Thanks for joining me. In this video, what I'm going to do is review the book The Miracle Morning, The Not So Obvious Secret Guaranteed to Transform Your Life Before 8 a.m. by author Hal Elrod. And before I do that, just please note that the link down below in the description is an Amazon affiliate link, which means that if you click on that link and buy the book through Amazon, I'll get a commission on that sale. So I really appreciate that. Thank you. So before I get into this book, I'm going to tell you my overview of it. I'm going to give you the pros and the cons, and I'm going to tell you ultimately if this book is worth your time. But before I do, let me just give some verbatim from the description on Amazon, and I'll give some of the author's background information for those who aren't familiar with them. And I like to do this because oftentimes when people read and then review books, when they try to summarize the book, they say what they thought it was about or what they wanted it to be about rather than what the actual author intended the book to be about. So I'm going to give you just some verbatim here about what the actual description of the book is, and then of course I'll give you what I took away from the book as well. So let's do that now. Okay, so here's the book on Amazon.com. And so we can see that it's got over 3,500 customer reviews, and they're very positive. We've got almost a 4-star average, and this was a #1 bestseller in spirituality. And author Robert Kiyosaki did the foreword. So I'm not too familiar with Kiyosaki's works, but I do know that he was the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad, which was a bestseller. And Kiyosaki has some very flattering words to say here. Hal Elrod is a genius, and his book Miracle Morning has been magical in my life. And I'm not going to read the full quote here, but it's very flattering. And so I'm not going to read the whole description, but just give you a little taste of it here. And of course you can see it on the screen. So he says, what if you could wake up tomorrow and any or every area of your life was beginning to transform? What would you change? The Miracle Morning is already transforming the lives of tens of thousands of people around the world by showing them how to wake up each day with more energy, motivation, and focus to take your life to the next level. It's been right here in front of us all along, but this book has finally brought it to life. Alright, so hopefully you're getting the point there. So next, let me just show you his background and just give you a little bit of bio on the author for those who aren't familiar with Elrod. So it says here, Hal Elrod is on a mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. As the author of one of the highest rated books on Amazon, The Miracle Morning, he is doing exactly that. And so he does actually have a very sad but remarkable story. He almost died, or I guess he did die, and he came back to life because of an accident, and he's also a cancer survivor, so he does have a very miraculous backstory. So he gets into that pretty in depth in the book. So for those who don't know who Mr. Elrod is, here he is right up on the screen. And with this said, now let me switch the screen back and I'll give you my breakdown of the book. So let me get into some of the key points in this book that were really helpful to me, that I really liked. So he starts off with, he tells his personal story, gets pretty in depth into that, and he talks about his own personal transformation experience. And he says that the book builds 3 imperative arguments. Basically that you're worthy, deserving, and capable of succeeding in all areas of your life, meaning wealth, happiness, career, and your health, and relationships. And he says that in order for you to start getting more of the good life and start succeeding, you have to start making time every day to work on your personal development in various areas. And he also says the third key premise of the book is that your morning routine, or your lack thereof, is going to be a major determining factor of your success. And most of these 3 points I think are pretty much non-controversial. I don't have much disagreement here with this. And so he talks about some really good insights here that are awesome things. Like one is, he talks about in the book, don't hit the snooze button, and how hitting the snooze button when you get up can have a really negative impact on your whole day, because your body is in between sleep cycles. So when you first go off and the alarm goes off and you first start to get up, but then you lay back to bed and hit the snooze button, your body gets confused because you can actually start going into a new sleep cycle, but then the alarm's going to go off in 10 or 15 minutes or whatever, and it's going to wake you up out of that. So you might even feel worse, and you might feel more groggy and have sleep inertia throughout the day, which I largely agree with that. So that was interesting. One of the biggest insights, probably the biggest one that I took away, is this idea here that, and I don't fully agree with it, but I do for the most part agree with it, but I don't think you can take it to the extreme. But he says that morning, and I'm reading from the book here, he goes, Miracle Morning practitioners who have tested this theory, I found that how our sleep affects our biology is largely affected by our own personal belief about how much sleep we need. In other words, how we feel when we wake up in the morning is not solely based on how many hours of sleep we got, but significantly impacted by how we told ourselves we were going to feel when we woke up. So for example, what he means is, like, if you tell yourself that you need to get 8 hours of sleep to feel well rested, and you believe that, which a ton of people believe that, and then you only get 7, right? Before you go to bed, you're going to check your clock, and you're going to think, oh man, I'm only going to get 7 hours of sleep tonight. I'm going to be tired tomorrow morning. And when you wake up, you're going to probably feel pretty miserable, right? But if you're up all night having fun with friends and you're just not caring, and you go to bed in a positive mood, maybe you'll wake up and you'll be tired, but you won't be as miserable. So like his idea here is that, if you tell yourself that you're going to feel good when you wake up and you're going to feel like you got enough sleep, that's going to happen when you wake up. You'll be positive and you'll think you're well rested. Like I said, this was very powerful insight for me, because I do largely agree with this idea, but at the same time, I don't think we can take this to the extreme, right? If you're getting 5 hours of sleep every single night, you're probably going to crash and burn. So I think that this is true, but you can't take it too far, because eventually, you can only do so much mentally. Yeah, you can think positive and get yourself in a very positive mind state, and you're going to feel better if you haven't gotten as much sleep as you think you need. But still, everybody's body does have a set point, or like a set amount of sleep that you should get, which is usually between 7 to 9 hours is what doctors usually recommend. But I think he is largely right here that, if we have this belief that we need 8 hours of sleep, that we need a certain amount of sleep, and then whenever we don't get it, then we're going to feel terrible the next day, that can kind of be destructive. And so another really cool insight here is that he says that the first key to waking up is to remember this. Your first thought in the morning is usually the last thought you had before you went to bed. So, for example, like if you were telling yourself before bed, oh, I'm not going to get enough sleep, I'm going to feel terrible, you're probably going to feel bad in the morning. But he uses this example, like we can all remember a time when it was on Christmas Eve, maybe when you were little, if your family celebrates Christmas. If not, then just think of a time, a birthday or another holiday. But anyway, he in the book, he uses this example. Think of a time like on Christmas Eve where you were so excited to get up and like you couldn't wait, and then you woke up the next day, hopped out of bed, and you didn't even care how much sleep you got. You just ran out there and you were so happy. And so he uses that as an example. And so this whole book, he uses a lot of hype, and he kind of keeps hyping this idea that you can use my system and you're going to make every morning feel like Christmas morning. And like, I wish that would be true. And I guess if you really try to look at the world that way, I guess it can be. But I don't know if it's necessarily the healthiest way to look at the world every day. But it's a cool promise, and I like the idea overall. So then he goes on throughout the book, and he talks about some other ideas, but the whole purpose of the book is really, he has this system that he calls savers, and it's short for lifesavers, but each one, S-A-V-E-R-S, they all stand for something different. I'm not going to give them all away, but the A stands for affirmations, your V is visualizations, and so these are all pretty much typical practices. Like he also talks about meditation, things that you would pretty much hear, in other kind of success or personal development type books, or any other kind of like guru is going to tell you that in the morning you should do these different practices. They're good to do. And so one cool insight he had about affirmations was, he says that anytime you come across a big area of your life that you want to improve it, write an affirmation about it. So like if you want to be more organized, or like affirmations don't necessarily have to be like, oh, I want to make $1 million, or I want to achieve some big goal. They can just be little things like, I want to be more organized, or I want to start being on time so I'm not late, like those kinds of things, and you can write an affirmation for that. So that was a good idea. I thought that was valuable. One of the morning practices, one of the savers, the E, is exercise. And like this just totally, I completely disagreed with this one, because for me, like exercising vigorously in the morning just does not work for me. It just doesn't. I mean, a lot of people tell you like wake up and exercise first thing in the morning, and sometimes I will, but like if I'm going to the gym or something, like I usually am more tired afterwards. Like, so I usually work out like in the later afternoon or even early evening, because if I go to the gym and lift weights or just do an intense cardio workout, I'm going to be pretty tired, and I find that I like to do it in the end of the day after I've got most of my important work done. So it doesn't really matter if I come home from the gym and I'm too tired to get any work done, then it doesn't really matter. But for me, like when I wake up and work out first thing in the morning, I'll be tired. Like if I get up at 6 or 7 and work out, by 9 or 10 or 11, like I'll feel more tired than I normally do. So that just totally doesn't work for me to do that. So I completely just didn't think that advice was helpful for me. You might, I mean, some people, it is very helpful to work out right away, and you might benefit from that, but I just totally, for me, that just doesn't work. So I disagreed with that, at least on a personal level. I don't disagree with it as being good advice, but it just doesn't work for me. something else I learned from this book was he says how important it is to hydrate yourself right away in the morning and drink water, and that's something I 100% agree with. He even recommends putting water on your nightstand, so right away when you wake up in the morning, you've got some water there. You can put down 6 to 8 ounces or whatever. I think that's a really good idea that I actually might try. I might actually take this away from the book. So those are some of the main ideas, but the whole savers points are very important. Like the first half of the book is just a lot of kind of mindset stuff, like basically breaking down limiting beliefs and just trying to teach you that, you know, hey, you can have it better, you can, whatever you want in life, like you can do it, you can be successful, you know, don't be mediocre, don't be part of the 95% who aren't going anywhere, be part of that top 5% that are achieving big things in life. The way you do that is by making time to develop yourself every day. I'll show you how to do that with my method. Then he goes through those lifesavers, those 6 things. And like I said, some of them are like the affirmations, visualization, and your exercise. I'm not going to give away the rest of them because then you won't read the book, right? But that was something. So that was basically what the book's about here. And so let me start off by talking about the cons. And so the first con is that there's a ton of self-promotion in this book. The whole book is you know, very self-aggrandizing, it has a lot of self-promotion. It's got tons of hype and sensationalism, especially throughout the whole half of the book, like I already mentioned, like saying like, oh, you can make every day feel like Christmas. And maybe the author doesn't see that as hype, but I mean, as a reader, it does kind of feel like a little bit of hyperbole. But he keeps hyping what's going to come. He keeps saying like, oh, like just wait till you get and you learn about these 6 methods. I'm going to tell you about them shortly. It's like, why do you need to tell me ahead of time what's coming? Why can't you just get right into what's coming? I mean, he uses a lot of cool, I think it's kind of like a literary technique where he'll say, oh, don't worry, in the future chapters you're going to learn this, so it keeps your attention, and it worked. It was ultimately effective because I read through this book very fast, and like I kept all the promising and all the sensations kind of kept pushing me through the book because I was like, okay, I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to the good stuff. I want to get to the good stuff. Then I finally got to the good stuff, and like I wasn't disappointed. I was kind of on the fence. I wasn't necessarily blown away by the whole Sabers thing, but I think it is a very good system overall for some people. Like those are all pretty good practices. But anyway, let me talk about the cons. See, I get distracted here. But anyway, those were really the main cons I had. Is that it's a lot of self-promotion, like linking to his other websites and products, and just overall just hyping stuff up a lot. And if it wasn't for such flattering quotes, like he's got really at the opening book, he's got tons of really awesome quotes from significant people like Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income and Robert Kiyosaki, who I already mentioned. So those quotes really did lend credibility to this book, and like he's got tons of testimonials. Like even near the end of the book, he shares a lot of stories about people, entrepreneurs, and other successful people. Some of them public figures or people that you probably recognize. Some of them just your average people. But he has tons of success stories and people that have used his system and have gotten amazing results. So he does, like I said, there's a lot of hype and sensationalism in this book, definitely. But he does have credibility. I would say he's a fairly credible source because he's got a lot of people saying really cool things about him and saying that like his book has had a huge impact on them. And you know, these are very successful people like Robert Kiyosaki, best-selling author, Pat Flynn from Smart Passive Income, and there's others as well. So that really, to me, like lended a lot of credibility in their words. The fact that there were so many 5-star reviews on Amazon, although I know that can be faked. Amazon's pretty good about cracking down on stuff, but I know that it always can be. I'm not trying to accuse him of doing that at all. I just know that reviews on Amazon, you don't always know how reliable they are. I would say on average they usually are. But if it wasn't for all of those, all that good, those quotes from, successful people and public figures and lots of case studies, testimonials, 5-star reviews, I would have probably, the sensationalism would have really turned me off. But the fact that he, I didn't really mind that he was hyping and sensationalizing a lot in the book, just because he does have a pretty good track record of a lot of people were happy with the book and happy with the results that they got. But it does get a little bit annoying sometimes, and there's a lot of fluff. It just kind of takes him a while to get to the point with his writing style. It's just kind of a little bit scatterbrained. Here I say that, you're probably thinking I'm scatterbrained as I'm reviewing this book, but anyway, it just took a while for him to get to the point. So some people might not like that. But now let me move on to the pros. So the first pro here is that he motivated me to start getting up earlier. I started reading this book yesterday, and then I woke up an hour earlier today, and I finished reading this book. And so he already has motivated me to do that and make that a regular practice, getting up earlier. I'll see how long it sticks, but just the fact that he was able to motivate me to do that just by reading a book yesterday. I read about the first half of the book yesterday. Just by reading like the introduction, like the first couple chapters, he already motivated me and got me fired up to try getting up earlier today. So I never thought that was going to happen, I'll be honest with you. So I mean, he is effective. Like I said, he there's some hype and some sensationalism, but ultimately he was effective at getting me to do that. And I'm planning on doing it tomorrow as well, and maybe the next day. So I mean, that's cool. Like I said, the hype and it does kind of help push you through the book, because like I kind of wanted to get to the point. And so he has a lot of good ideas about mindset and success in general. So there's plenty to learn here. Like I said, I already mentioned some of those big points that I learned and some of the big takeaways that I've got from this book. There's probably like those 3 or 4 things that I mentioned that I thought were cool points earlier on about, you know, the last thought you think before you go to bed is usually the first thing you'll think when you get up in the morning, and how the amount of sleep that you need, it might not be biological. Yes, there's a biological component, but it's also your mindset has a lot to do with it, and stuff like that. I thought that was very helpful, and that's definitely going to stick with me after I've read this book. But really, those were the only pros, those were the only cons. I mean, I have a mixed feeling about this book. I mean, overall, I can't overall necessarily recommend this book for everybody. If this sounds like something that you would like, I would definitely check it out. Like I said, it's gotten me to get up earlier, and it's definitely has some really cool points in this book. It made me feel more positive and more optimistic and more motivated. Like, he definitely was effective at getting me fired up. But really, the big question I kept asking myself is that, you know, it seems like all the people who are telling you get up in the morning and do gratitude and meditation and journaling, you know, it seems like the people that are telling you to do that stuff are the so-called gurus, right? And the personal development gurus who are telling you to do that stuff. But like, if you actually read biographies of really successful people, or just listen to them talk in interviews, like I'm talking like very successful people, like I don't know, like Sam Walton, or founder of Walmart, or Ray Kroc, McDonald's founder, like anybody like that, or Steve Jobs. I mean, most of them, they're not going to tell. They're going to tell you like, I was very successful because I worked really hard and I was very persevering. It's not because they woke up and did this meditation and yoga and gratitude or all this stuff. It seems like it's mostly the self-help people that are selling your products that are telling you to do all this stuff. I'm not saying that it doesn't work. I do some of those practices myself. I like to get up and read, and I do journaling, and I do, sometimes I do meditation. I don't always, but sometimes I do if my mind is just racing. If my thoughts are kind of all over the place, I'll do that to help focus. Like, I do some of those practices. Affirmations, I don't really do them that often, but every now and then I will. I'll experiment with them sometimes. Visualization, same thing. I don't really do it every day, but every now and then I will. So generally these practices are very good, and a lot of people recommend them, but like, that's just the big overall question is, you know, is doing this stuff every day, is that going to change your life? Is it going to have this big effect on you? Or can you just get up and instead of doing all the meditation and doing all this other stuff, can you just get up, get breakfast, get to work, and just work hard all day and you'll succeed? I don't know. I mean, I think that it's always good to incorporate some of these practices. So try them out and you might like it. But let me see if I had any other notes here. But yeah, really, my final recommendation on this book is that I can't honestly say it's one of the best books that I've ever read. I can't honestly say that it's really blown me away. Although there's a couple key insights in here that almost blew me away. There's a couple key insights in this book that were very powerful for me and have had an impact on me. And like I said, there's definitely really good information in this book that I can see why it would be valuable to people. So you might like it if this sounds like something that you'd like. I say go for it, take a chance. But yeah, I can't really recommend this book to everybody. It's not one of the better books I've ever read, although I did take away some cool points that have had an impact on me. So maybe I'll change my mind. Let me see. I'm going to keep trying this getting up earlier and earlier thing. And maybe I'll have to get into some of these practices he's recommending, like the meditation. I'll get back into that, and some of the other stuff. Maybe I'll try that out more. And if I do, and if I like it, then I'll come back on here. I'll film another video and tell you about my results. But just the fact that he has all these awesome, like 5-star reviews, and he's got all these stories and testimonials from people who have tried his Savers method and have tried the morning methods that he recommends for a month or 14 days and have said that it's completely changed their life. Just the fact that people have said that, I think, is remarkable, and I think that shows that there's a lot of value here. So you might like it. Like I said, try it out, but overall, I mean, it's not one of the better books I've read. So take that for what it's worth, guys. I mean, I know that I get a little scatterbrained in these reviews sometimes, but like I said, my final verdict on this, I'd probably, if I was going to rate it, I'd probably say like maybe 3.5, 4 stars out of 5. It was good. It had some good points, but it was just, I didn't think it was really that miraculous. I mean, a lot of the stuff here, like his ideas, like meditate and read in the morning, like that's all stuff that I've heard from, you know, other people have said that, and a lot of people know to do that, but he has like a good way of combining it into like a routine. So you take those 6 things and you combine them into a routine, and if you do that every day, you know, for a year or so, you're probably going to, yeah, I'd imagine you would develop into a better person and be more effective and successful. So, I mean, like I said, I don't doubt that the method will work for some people. I don't doubt that he's had, you know, some people have had amazing experiences. So take that for what it's worth. If you just really want to shake up your life and shake up your routine, I would definitely get into this book. If you're just looking for something new to try that does have a proven track record, try this book out, try this advice out. But if, you know, if it sounds like something that you don't think you'd be interested in, I'd probably skip this one. Honestly, if you're on the fence, you might want to skip this one. It's just not that amazing. It didn't really blow me away, but you know, there were some gems I got away from it. So thanks for watching, guys. Please give me a thumbs up here if you like this video, subscribe, and let me know if there's other books that you want me to review. You can leave me a comment or message me, whatever works. But thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.